All right, so our first storyteller likes to make sure that computers won't take over the world. He also plays with sharks and is a champion assassin in his spare time. So please make sure you give a warm welcome to Anvesh Kumaravelli.
Indian parents can be obsessive about academics, you know, exams and stuff. We have schools as usual, but we also have private tutorings. So you would go to school during the day and then do this private tutoring in the evening. Sometimes we also have tutorings for tutorings. Thank God my parents haven't signed me up for any tutorings. Instead, they let me participate in fun activities like singing, giving speeches in the school assembly, and so on. I still remember the day when I was about 7. I had just gotten back from school, taking my shoes off, when my mom tells me they were planning to send my brother for a singing lesson. Now, I had zero singing experience, but for some reason, I was very excited, and I almost cried that I wanted to go as well. Well, she was a nice mom. So I joined my brother for our first lesson. Our instructor asks us to sing the 7 notes up and down, and so we did. He was quite impressed. So we continue our singing lessons for several years. We staged many shows, participated in events, won several competitions. I used to love doing all those activities. So one day when I was in 9th grade, I was asked to give a farewell speech for our retiring principal at school. Now, I've given speeches before, and there wasn't anything particularly unusual about this. So I'm at the microphone like this. I know what to say, I'm saying the words, except that when I hear what I'm saying, I just couldn't understand a word myself. Imagine having hiccups during every word you say without the hiccups part, and each word starting off in its own pitch. Yeah, so I was almost like weeping on the stage for our leaving principal. So I guess that covered for that. So at that point I was basically unfit for any vocal activities. I still dared and participated in a singing competition, and guess what? I sucked. My teachers used to ask me, "What's going on with your voice?" Well, I had no answer. Did you ever have that feeling, even momentarily, that you cannot control a part of your life anymore and not even know why? I was 13, the mysterious time when a boy shuts off his child voice and acquires his male, mature, bolder voice. Now, if you've never thought about voice change, here is how it happens. Children, both boys and girls, start off with a high-pitched voice, and during puberty, the voice of a boy deepens significantly to a bolder, mature voice, whereas a girl's voice stays about the same. As if we don't have enough distinguishing characteristics between the two genders. But mine was a different story. Somehow I was retaining that old high-pitched voice, the one that squeaks and cracks every time I speak. I used to try all I could, but my voice just wouldn't let me. I used to feel that most of the energy I put in to speak would just go a waste. On the other hand, my male friends around, they started developing mature voices, and they started passing comments on me when I used to go past them. That was unexpected. I used to get frustrated and angry several times, but I couldn't even voice my anger. So 2 years passed, and at that time my voice grew so weak that it was very hard for someone sitting right next to me to hear what I'm saying. And they used to take advantage of this and ask me a question, and when I cannot answer in an audible way, they used to laugh at me. And no one has laughed at me like that before. I almost had to repeat whatever I said, always, to make myself heard. And my voice was gradually stabilizing in some strange high-pitched voice, even though I'm post-puberty.
బీటా పిక్టోరిస్ అనే ఈ నక్షత్ర సౌర వ్యవస్థలో
So that was me when I was about 17, speaking something in my native language. So my parents and I were trying to figure out what's going on with my voice. We came up with questions like, was it psychological? Have I been thinking too much about my voice? Have I used up most of my voice? Can I not speak or sing anymore, ever? And then I joined university for my bachelor's, and someone asked me what my hobbies were. Well, the only thing I ever properly did outside academics was singing, but I couldn't have said that. There was no way I could have showcased my talent, and they wouldn't have understood why. So I settled with listening to music as my hobby. That's a great hobby to have. So things started to change when one day my parents were watching this reality singing show on TV, hosted by the famous Indian singer S.P. Balasubramaniam. Maybe some of you might have heard of him. So in this show, he invites this doctor from a Melody Voice Center. He goes on to describe how professional singers often strain their voice due to repeated use, and how he got benefited from this center himself when his voice got strained a couple of times. That was a jackpot. We thought if someone like this singer, famous singer, could fix his voice at this center, maybe I have a chance. So we set up an appointment and we head to the center. The moment we enter, it was a different world. We see several people waiting for appointments, for similar voice-related activities, problems. So I thought, okay, maybe this is not a strange disease I have. And when we finally get to see the doctor and describe what's been going on, he starts putting this tube-like thing with a camera at the end into my mouth and asks me to speak. Then he collects some data, and then here comes the diagnosis. Puberphonia. A term I have never heard of before. But at least it's got a medical name. It's not something spiritual or ghostly thing happening with me. So he finally goes on to describe what's been happening with me. When a normal person speaks, the laryngeal muscles around your vocal cords, they alternate between coming all the way close together and going away from each other to produce audible sound. But in my case, they never really came all the way together, leaving a gap, and through which air used to leak out when I used to speak. It's almost like blowing air into a fluid, except that you don't press the knobs all the way down. So you would hear the effort of playing the instrument, but the outcome is all muddled. Now, to fix the problem, the doctor suggests a voice therapy. To start with, the therapist, her name was Ravali, she was using this game-like software where you have a bird sitting on one end, and my task was to speak in a lower male pitched voice to let it fly all the way to the other end. So I tried all I could, like I basically was asked to speak vowels, extended vowels, and it used to start moving, but then it would immediately go back. That was disappointing. So I tried and tried and tried until my throat became so dry that I had to cough. At that moment, the bird was instantly sitting all the way at the other end. I haven't noticed that at first, but Ravali did, my therapist. Apparently, my male voice was preserved in my cough. Perhaps it was forcing the muscles to come together. So my first exercise was to voluntarily cough and then extend it into a vowel. That was a strange exercise. So I managed to do vowels to some extent, but it was very hard to do whole words and forget about sentences. Now, another physical change that should have happened post-puberty was the lowering of the Adam's apple, this ridge-like thing that protrudes out of the neck, most prominently for males, which did not happen for me. So my next vocal exercise was to voluntarily press it down during speaking and say things like vowels and stuff. Now that was super hard and painful. You would never even want to do that. Also, in order to train my muscles, I had to speak very slowly, articulating every phoneme in great detail. So I started off with vowels, and then words, and then sentences, and then paragraphs. I was like a toddler learning to speak for the first time. So this was my schedule for the next couple of months. Wake up in the morning, press down the Adam's apple, speak vowels, words, and stuff, and literally whenever I speak anything to anyone in the house. And that was very frustrating, because even to speak a small sentence, it used to take me minutes. And there were times where it was very frustrating and painful. I thought, what's the point of all of this? Is it ever going to fix the problem at all? And I must really thank my parents for being with me, for being so patient, for calming me down, giving me hope. So 2 years of intense vocal exercises, and then I finally discovered my voice for the first time, the one I'm speaking with right now. I still remember the moment when I called my mom from outside the house, and she picks up the phone, and when I say hello, her first response was, "Who is it?" That's perhaps the first time I realized science can do wonders. For now, it's time for me to prepare for my upcoming singing show. Thank you.
Anvesh Komodavelli.